Hello.
Hi.
We are streaming live on YouTube
Excellent.
to turn it off. Okay.
See a few people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Hi, Dan. Oh, here's Mackenzie. Mhm. It's like Nora's having a hard time connecting. So we have some fun things to show you today. We did some, I guess Andrea stumbled upon something that was pretty fun. And we were on a webinar this morning for an AI sales rep.
I was on
And
it too.
you were on it too?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. You were on with Artisan for Ava?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd be curious to hear what you thought about that. And then Katie's also going to share with us some stats about AI content versus human written content, which I think everybody's going to find interesting. So let's start talking about Ava. I'll do a little screen share so you can see what we're talking about if you were not there. Ava is the first of their artisans that they've released, and Ava comes with a database of contacts and will email out based on your voice, which you give it the prompt for your voice, will create outbound emails. And it does need to live in Gmail right now, and you can create your own. You'll need to create your own email with that custom domain and Gmail space, or have it be, I would think having it be separate from your business would be a good idea, because when you are doing new outbound sequences, you want to make sure that that you don't get marked as spam and that it doesn't bring down your regular domain. And I signed up for Ava. I'm going to try it out and see how she does for us, and do the 2 week trial. And I'm curious, Dan, what you thought of it from your perspective and who your clients are too.
So, I was interested in it from a couple perspectives. One is I was unaware when I got on the webinar that they had this extensive database of leads and this interactive onboarding process that they have where you're sort of interviewing and training Ava, has you identify your target client and sort of gives you updated stats at each step around, okay, so based on that qualification, we have this many leads. Now we have this many. Now we have this many. But they also allow you to upload your own lead list in a CSV file. So if you've already curated a list of prospects that you know are legitimate, this can be nothing more than just basically your email marketing, your BDR service. Um, I was interested to hear how quickly they're moving. So it looks like they hit a point where they were confident in going to market with this, and it does sound like it's probably viable at this stage, but there's limitations to it. So, for instance, she'll draft replies. So once she gets a response to one of the initial emails, she will draft a reply, but it still requires a human connection. You can't set it and forget it, and that might be a bad strategy anyway. And since email communication isn't expected necessarily to be, completely in the moment, my guess is you probably could staff somebody if you had a large email marketing campaign going on. You could have somebody staffed to check the queue once a day or maybe twice a day or something like that until you get to comfort level about the responses. And then it's driving towards essentially scheduling a meeting with an SDR. So it is limited right now to just a pure BDR kind of function. I had a couple questions that I asked that I didn't get responded to in the chat. One was that this is absolutely iterative, in the sense that it is going to try to become better and better knowing about your business. And it starts out going and scraping your website, and coming back with, hey, this is what I think your company's about. And you're going to have a chance to interact with it to refine that. And one of my questions was, look, what kind of security do you guys have? Like, as I teach Ava about my business, where's this all going and who can see it and so forth? And I didn't get an answer to that. So that would still be a concern for me.
Yeah,
But what I will tell you is this, I'm not going to be able to pull the trigger on this immediately, but one of my friends who's a COO for a large insurance, medical insurance company, um, is signing up for Ava and is signing up for another service. He told me what it was. Hang on just one second. Let me pull it up. They're both about $1,000 a month, and he's going to run both, and
so
A/B test with them. It's Cloud Sale is the name of the other company he's signing up with that has a BDR, an AI-driven BDR program, apparently. I've not looked into it yet. But I'll be able to get pretty quickly some tangible feedback about this and Cloud Sale from my buddy Mike, which will be
yeah, I'd be
helpful.
curious how that goes. On the security side, he did say something about it, like don't put anything in there, no, like confidential information that you wouldn't want exposed. Um, and I think we don't know what LLM they're on either, because that was something we were curious about. I have a meeting with them today, a little bit later today. So we'll ask the questions and get back to you on that. Um, this is the dashboard on it, but I signed up and I started going through the process. I have to set up the email now. But what I noticed is in the chat with Ava, I put in the web address, aismartmarketing.com, and it says it looks like you offer an applied AI course, and this is pretty much it. And so I know it didn't scrape our whole website. It just got the page that I gave it. Because we have a lot of other things on our website that aren't that deep in. They're in the nav bar, like our marketing strategy and things like that. So I know it just got the homepage. And so she definitely does need training. And this is it's a test and it's an experiment. We talked with somebody a little bit later today who makes these custom chatbots that can do these functions. And we talked with her about doing a custom one for us too. And it's trained on all the information and directive and your voice in detail. And she's been using it in her email. And I said I would want a signature that says something like, this is an AI email, like we're testing, experimenting, playing with this or something like that, because in case there's something odd on it, you know. But yeah, you can, so it is like, this is very first of its kind technology, um and I think it's gonna change a lot of businesses.
I'll tell you, I absolutely do intend to try one or more of these solutions, not as a one track, all my eggs in one basket kind of an approach. But I do think that there's something to this because, I mean, once you get engagement, there's just a number of different things that you could do, right? You wouldn't necessarily have to have this funnel towards scheduling an appointment. You could direct them to another kind of interactive AI-driven utility that presents a lot more information in a lot more engaging format. And I mean, I just think there's a lot of different things you could do with this as an entry point.
Yeah. I mean, for us, we wanted have it give them different resources too. So we kind of talked about that, like if it could um, deliver the AI cheat sheet that we have or something, and not just book an appointment. And right now, Artisan can't. This other custom solution could. It could deliver whatever we want it to. So it can point them in different directions, or it can pass them over to a conversation with a discovery bot, or give them a discovery, because we can also, with the custom one, do phone calls, and you could schedule a discovery call. And they were talking about that as where Artisan is going to go, is to be able to do Zoom calls too. So I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, and I think to what you were saying, Dan, about the things that are coming is really where the excitement is. So if I also believe that if you get in early with the technology and, well, just on the standpoint of how much it's going to cost, the price will probably go up. There's number one. So if you start now and start looking at it now and start training it now, and then when the new artisans come in, you're going to be able to just turn those on, and they're already going to have all the information about your company and what you do, because there's a designer, there's a marketer, there's I thought accounting or something to that nature. Yeah, it'll just be really interesting because we're also using something called Instantly, which is different but similar in some of the things that it does, where we pull in the leads or we search for the leads in Instantly itself or outside of it. We write the emails and it's not doing it for us. So this technology is supposed to research the actual people that you find as leads or that the system finds as leads for your business. And they're actually researching those people and creating email messages based on something more personable than just a 5 email sequence that of course is good, but like it's not personal in any way. So that was kind of interesting. To me, the value is when it's going to be able to respond, and yeah, that's coming. That's one of the values I see. But
So ideally, so I'm really curious about you guys' work on trying to develop a custom solution for this, because the gold standard in my mind, and I'm sure I'm not bringing fire down from the mountain with this comment, you guys have already thought through all of this, but the gold standard would be for me to draft, the initial email with space for a bot like this to go out and scrape the custom information from the lead's website to create a personalized message, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Be able to reply kind of at the level that the best chat bots are doing right now, powered by an information database like the one I could build in Jasper, and just tell the bot, go find answers to the questions, try to understand the question, go find answers to it in this vertical within my castle, right? That's sort of my gold standard. And I don't think, based on conversations I've had with you guys and otherwise, that we're far off from that. But right now, it kind of feels like you have to cobble that together for multiple solutions that have to be compatible.
Yeah, you do. It's totally possible to do. We had an AI automation call with the company that does that sort of thing. Um, I don't even know how many. We probably have 25 different bots outlined that do different functions. And it's absolutely possible. And you could even go through that process and do a discovery call on Zoom, get somebody on. You could do a phone call that's a discovery call with them. Right now, the bot's limit is like a 20-minute script that it could do on a Zoom call where it runs people through a demo. So if you had some technology, it would work for that. And you could do a SaaS demo with the technology with a bot on it. And it is something that they would cobble together. They put all the different things together and gather all your information and build it. I really want Claude API to be more open and available, because I think Claude would do a really good job processing it all. But right now it's run on OpenAI.
Yeah. So the other interesting thing that they mentioned that piqued some thoughts were how they're rapidly developing these different sales playbooks. So for instance, they talked about having a humor driven or humor focused playbook coming out soon. And that got me thinking that, if you had a bot like this that was dependable in responding and maybe even multi-stage responses in a conversation with the lead, I would love for it also to kind of try and read emotion and to try some engagement, because at its best, particularly for the next couple of years, is my guess, prospects are not going to recognize that they're talking to AI. They're just not aware of it enough yet. And so if it's fairly sophisticated, I'm thinking that you can get some nice engagement. And then when you do the pass off, if you've been playing out of the humor playbook or your emotional reading has indicated that that's successful with this prospect, then the pass off to the SDR takes a particular tone. And it's like, hey, it's been fun chatting with you, but we've reached the limits of my understanding. I got to pass you off to a smarter person, kind of a thing, the self-deprecating sort of humorous kind of thing, which works really well. I'm kind of, my brain's on fire with how this could work. And I sense that all the pieces are there or are coming to bear to do that.
Yeah. You could put that stuff together now, and you can have different bots take over at different points because it's simply a trigger. So I'll just show you a quick visual. These are all the different bots that we've been discussing. And these ones they need updates just based on technology updates. There's the Nicole bot in there. We have a blog bot, and we've got two different kinds of blog bots. I won't tell you why right now. We have a speaker bot. So this one, we have so many different things. We have ones for short form content, podcast content, long form content, automations, and a newsletter bot, an email assistant. This is something that we're really interested in that tracks, reads, and replies to emails. But these are all built or being built. And some of these require paid, some of them require paid SaaS tools to make them all work. And some of them are with an API, and you might need Zapier to zap the information from one place to the next. But we had a meeting about this today with the company that puts all this stuff together. So anything that you can think of really is possible. And if you think of this as like all of the tasks in your company, and for you starting over right now, building a virtual workforce based on all the tasks that need to get done, it is somewhat of an investment up front to build all this stuff. And man, you are going to have updates as the technology updates, but it could make you so efficient out of the gate.
That's why I'm going to hire you.
Sounds
No,
good.
in all seriousness, I mean, the conceptual part of it, I know there's some heavy lifting at the front end to try and figure out what we can automate, right? And then looking at the solutions and just visioning, like we've been talking about today, how to do this stuff. And then, so for those different bots that you guys are working on right now, is that a combination of internal work, some outsourced, contracted kind of work? And in terms of out-of-pocket cost to get any one of those bots kind of up and functional, what's the range of investment?
Oh, the range is so big. It depends on how complicated it is. I would say bot programming probably starts at 2,500. Which it's not bad, but like some of these, if it involves something like Midjourney, we have to have a Midjourney subscription. You have to have the OpenAI subscription that you can get the API. You have to have, there's different subscriptions that you would have. And then depending on the bot, sometimes there's a monthly recurring subscription for the bot and maintenance. Just like when you do any technology apps and stuff, they always have to get updated. And the stability is kind of here and there on these. So it is good to let people know that, hey, this is AI. At least we think it's good to let people know this is AI. If there's a hiccup, here's my email, here's my phone number, whatever. You can reach us here. There's a link. And I think people are entertained and it's a novel thing. And so it's okay right now. I think if a lot of people get inundated by AI calls and emails, it's not going to be as okay. And we are just at the beginning of all of this.
And just to piggyback off of that, the European Union did just enact the laws surrounding AI yesterday, which will be implemented in 2025. So as far as what Nicole was saying, transparency is key moving forward, and letting people know that you're using AI is going to be really important. And just making sure that you're following the EU as far as the golden standard, because usually they're the ones that put in the rules and the framework first, and then everywhere else trickles down. So
Yeah, and I'm going to put a copy again to the link to our AI use policy, because this is sort of what we're recommending for people right now. And
it follows the EU standards.
mhm.
And just like with email, we want to be GDPR compliant. Even if we're not emailing someone in the EU, we want to abide by those standards.
For sure. Another thing, just to talk about changes before we move on, to another subject. Katie, you were talking about those laws sort of enacting, and what one of the articles I found today had to do with Pulitzer Prize.
Oh, yeah.
They just updated the rules for that because, and I'll put that in the chat also, which I thought was interesting. So, and this just shows like all the changes that are happening because of AI. There are regulations, and there'll be business things, right? But now they're saying 5 of the year's Pulitzer Prize finalists are AI powered, and it's a whole article about how they've they're considering that people are using AI, and so they've also redesigned their own rules. But so I thought that was really interesting that even at that level, like here's some changes going into that.
I wonder if they went through a tough conversation when word processors came out and everybody else was using typewriters.
Yeah.
well, it's funny because in this article, I think the guy even says, I'm really old fashioned. Our symbol is a quill. It's not even a typewriter. So
Yeah, I see that at the bottom. Yeah. So it's changing a lot of things, and it's better, like we always suggest, being transparent in the use of it, and of course using it responsibly and ethically.
Yeah. I think this is a
Is
good.
most of the
Yep. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
Is most of the concern right now that you guys have for AI and ethics and guidelines and stuff driven by, the outside audience and its perception? And then I saw some of the sensitivity in the EU article as I just glanced through it over the last few seconds around, emotional recognition in schools and with employees and things like that. So I can see how there might be some sensitive constituencies where you don't want to use AI for certain purposes. But at the level that you guys are talking about automating processes and things like that, is it just sort of the outbound flow of communication that has an AI origin that you guys are concerned about disclosing?
For us, yes. I would say anything we're putting in emails, on social media, videos, any of that, we would want to disclose that we're using AI. And for our clients, I mean, we've been using AI since 2015, so it's not new to anybody that we're working with. And anybody that has been coming in since we started being more public with AI, they know that we're using it. And so from our perspective, it is like, these are the standards which we abide by. So if you have questions of safety and security of your information, Like, here's our guidelines of how we work with your information. And then the AI use policy internally, I feel like we all, because we're, there's going to be a new word instead of digital natives, will be like AI natives. We're kind of AI natives, but not really, because it just started and, we're not babies. But um, being that we've been steeped in this for so long, we know how to use it responsibly. And the internal use policy will help people use it responsibly internally. And also there's no AI policies yet, like insurance policies, and they would fit under cybersecurity, and none of them have an AI portion of that yet. So any technology that you're using, if you think of it from a cybersecurity perspective and cyber insurance perspective, it to cover yourself and your liability, you want to have an internal use policy and an external use policy. So if there's any liability there, that you've shown your actions to cover yourself in those cases.
I would think that it would have the liability piece, but I also think to the extent that you have coverage for damages that you incur for cybersecurity breaches, that there might be an exclusion under the policy for you voluntarily doing things that exposes your proprietary information.
Yeah.
So I think there's that piece of it too. I mean, you may not have coverage for your own damages if you're not careful about how you put yourself out there. I just put my lawyer hat on for a second. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. No, that totally makes sense. And that's why we don't let anything run fully AI. There's, and if it is something like if a bot is talking to someone, that's why we want to make that obvious, because we always put ourselves as the filter or the source of truth or that extra 20% in front of any of the AI that we are using. So that's our first step at covering ourselves, is like not allowing it just to do its own thing. But I think that there's definitely going to be industries, finance, health, probably law too, that are going to be looked at more, because for obvious reasons, I guess, because it has people's information and, all of that. So what we do, we use it as a tool to make our jobs better and easier and faster. We aren't using the AI to be the solution.
Yeah. I got an interesting use case kind of question for you. So let's say Ava or one of these other services gets to the point that they're comfortable, at least, in it having multi-stage conversations, replying, right? And given your very clear-headed notion about not setting it and forgetting it, right? And wanting to make sure that you've got some policing of it. You talked about some AI-driven solution that you're looking at right now that reviews and responds to emails just generally. Could you have a bot like Ava conversing with people and have another bot that is designed to review emails on a daily basis, go in, or maybe even it's real-time basis, and as soon as something looks like it's out of parameters, or somebody's gotten a response that indicates that they've suddenly become aware that they're talking to a bot, or whatever the case may be, has some planned kind of intervention, even if it's just an alert that goes out to somebody, so that you can set an exception-based system where you don't destroy the utility of having a bot in place in the first place by having to have everything reviewed by a human.
Yes.
Yeah.
To answer your question, yes, definitely. And we are looking to solve that within our building our bot by training it with all our information and what Nicole was talking about earlier, but having it inside our CRM system, because it can talk and talk until it gets to a point where it can't anymore. And what we can do is have triggers that then alerts whoever should be responding back that is there, which also could move them into an opportunity, which also could move them here. It's like kind of endless. But yes, you definitely would want some of those things in place, because otherwise the bot can just keep going. And we've seen
Oh, I
this.
know.
Like, and I actually did a test when Instagram first came out with their bots, and I had our bot talking to their bot, and it went on forever. It was like 52 messages back and forth, and they weren't necessarily arguing, but nobody was getting anywhere because their bot wanted to accomplish one thing and our bot wanted to accomplish something else. But I wanted to see what would happen, and they just kept going, and I eventually had to block their bot because I couldn't get them to stop talking to each other. So that's where the automations come in. So you need the AI, but you also need to know what to do with it after that. So like in the case that you gave, if it's talking to the bot and then it got to the point where it can't talk to the bot anymore, or someone needs to be, Katie, they need help with this course, whatever it is, and like she needs to be notified. That can all be built in as automations with the bot.
Because it could be an out on the flow, right? I mean, the bot could get to a point where if it's got enough self-recognition, it could say, I've reached the end of my capability,
Yep.
or I've not been able to accomplish my objective. And so
Yep.
there could be a pass off to a live agent
Yes.
Yeah,
that says,
totally.
hey, it could even say, hey, I don't know that you were aware of this, but I'm actually an AI powered,
Yeah.
representative of the company. It's been a pleasure talking to you, but I can tell you
Yep.
need to talk to someone else. I've copied my colleague,
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And I
there's,
think that's the perfect way to handle it, because I would rather them know and have the transparency of, hey, I don't know, I can't help you anymore, but here's Katie and she can get on with you, and then whatever.
I can tell you my audience, the first part of the conversation they're going to have with my SDR is, so I was talking to an AI bot? Really? So that's so cool. How have you guys been able to like, and then we get to talk about, we're really a fintech company. We're not just a finance company. It's a great icebreaker into conversation. Like I can see very little downside to that.
yeah, I will say like the most successful AI powered bots and customer service are ones that identify themselves ahead of time as being AI powered, and or at some point in the conversation they reveal that they, like Andrea said, did you know you're talking to an AI? And people appreciate that a lot more than having the fleece pulled over. So
Well, and look, here's the thing. If I have a super high value prospect, I'm probably putting it into a different funnel anyway. And so anybody that's going to react badly to this is probably somebody that I don't want to do business with anyway. And so a quick apology and a thank you for their time and, on your way suits my purposes perfectly.
And in a sense, then that's a qualifier for you. If you don't want
100%.
people that aren't gonna, be open to this, and there you go. There's a whole other level of filtering people
No,
out.
I don't know that you guys know this, but there's a really high percentage of attorneys who are assholes. So
what?
Are you one of them?
no, I'm a nice attorney. I'm a recovering attorney. I'm on like step 10 of 12 in my recovery process right now. So.
I thought that was part of their like requirements.
You would be surprised. The stereotype is for them to be outgoing and argumentative and critical and everything else, but there is a substantial percentage of attorneys who are actually very introverted, they're conflict averse, they're very cerebral, socially minded. They're nice people, but not the stereotype that you see in Hollywood depictions and things.
I was going to say there's a difference between litigators and, attorneys.
Well,
Other
and
kinds of
also whose
attorneys.
voice is louder. It's not going to be the introverts, internal thinking people. It's going to be kind of like with politics, right? Everybody thinks a certain group of people looks like this because that's all they see on the news. It's not really like the whole audience, but.
Well, and here's part of the reason for my rationale around people geeking out over the AI piece of it once they know about it is that we've discovered, and it's anecdata, but I'm pretty confident in it, that our best clients are business-minded attorneys. They're thinking about business and technology and new finance options and things like that. And so the fact that they engage positively with the AI and they're curious about it is probably a positive qualifier for them to be a good candidate to do business with us too, which is another reason why I'm not afraid to use this technology in my BDR operation at all.
Yeah, that's good. We're gonna have Don Ho on. He's an EO or two and a tech attorney, and he was big in Web3 and NFTs and has been in AI for a bit. And he's the one we're partnering with on we're doing some law workshops where he's going to take people through AI use policies and best practices based on EU recommendations. So he's the one that did our internal use policy. And we want to keep the highest standards and have transparency and I don't know, just best practices for using it responsibly, because there's a lot of ways you could use it irresponsibly at this point. Katie, do you want to show the stats on like speaking of responsibly?
On the content creation?
Yeah, the content creation and how the blogs are doing.
Sure. This is an older article, but still very relevant. And
older is like a month old.
Yeah. It changes so fast. So this is on Neil Patel's website. And I can paste in the chat here the link as well, so you can look at it on your own. But basically he's going through and comparing AI versus human written content. And they did this test over a certain amount of time and websites. So there's several different charts that they have on here. This particular one is going over how long it takes to write content. They used a sample size of 744 articles here. 16 minutes for AI content, 69 minutes for human written content. There are a few questions that Andrea and I both had as far as is the AI content being prompted with like a source of truth or a knowledge base? He doesn't really disclose that in the article. And the way the article is written, I'm led to believe that these are just purely generated by AI without giving it any extra context. But I still thought it was very interesting because it shows the average traffic per post for AI generated articles versus human generated articles. And you can see the AI ones are not performing as well. And then if you continue down, he basically goes on to show that the lower quality outputs are going to decrease your traffic and rankings. And Google just did a core update recently, trying to help mitigate this, because there are hundreds of thousands of websites right now that are just putting out content to put out content using AI. And it's creating sort of a, I guess, oversaturation. But with the new Google update, if your website had only AI generated content on it, it got deprioritized. And one of the things Andrea and I were looking at our website, and it was not affected because we do use our source of truth in all of our articles and the content. We provide it with that extra context. We do have the human go through. And then as the article continues on, it talks about how much traffic AI and humans generate per minute spent. And he even goes further to say how he is not a fan of using AI to write all of the content, but he has like a specific formula that he uses to write AI powered content using your own context, which I thought was nice. So I would, if you have the time, definitely go check this article out. It's he has a few other short studies that he did relating to content and writing on your website. So, and I think they're linked within here too. So good, fascinating read, short read too.
Katie, I didn't see this as you were scanning through it, but as he suggests sort of this human modified version of an AI first draft, call it. Does he go through and kind of revisit the question of how long does it take to do that so that he could true up the stats around traffic per minute sent? Because that's really
No.
the gold standard, right?
That's what we were wondering as well, because that's typically like how you would want to go through. You would want to start with AI and then go through and modify and use your own input and add any knowledge or context that you need. And he doesn't really talk about that in here. He does say like the AI writer will produce the content for you. It'll give you that head start and make it your own, add the new stuff, but he doesn't talk about like the time spent doing that. I think that would be like a good area to monitor, and maybe that's something that we can do.
Yeah, because the stats are stark, right? If he talks about 58 versus 283 on the engagement, he talks 16 minutes versus 69 minutes. There's a sweet spot in there where, you spend 30 minutes by using AI as your starting point, and you get 90% of the engagement that you get from purely human written content. And then the economics are phenomenal.
Yeah. And this kind of relates back to, I'm not sure if you were on the call, Dan, but there was one call we had where we looked at a study that showed how if you have lower performing employees using AI, it will bring them up to speed with the higher performing colleagues. But if the higher performing colleagues are using AI, it doesn't really benefit them as much as it does the lower performing colleagues. So if you have a very skilled person using AI, they're going to use it to save time, not necessarily, it's not going to help them change like the quality of the content, but it will help them save time. And I think that's where like the magic lies, because like AI is definitely going to help those lower performers boost up. So then you're saving all that time with your lower performers, and the people who are highly skilled in their areas and their magic, those people are just going to use it to save time on what they're working on because they're so good at what they do already.
Yeah, that's still good though. I mean,
yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't know if you wanted me to share the Midjourney stuff today, the updates with that, but I also played around with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see it for sure. Because I thought that was really cool.
I'll bring that up here. And Midjourney 6 is still an alpha, so just keep that in mind. But Midjourney just came out with an update about using character reference and creating consistent characters through their images. So I was playing around a little bit with this. One of the key things that Midjourney mentions in their notes is that it works great with generated images. It does not work great with photos that you upload. And I will show you an example of that. So I uploaded a photo of myself here and used the new character reference tool. And this is what it outputted. So it's pretty bad for photos. I would not use it in that regard. And I tested it a few different times, and it's basically distorting all of my features that it's recognizing and like really enhancing and distorting those. And in Midjourney's notes, it says it will do that with photos. So just know when you're working with this new feature, it's not meant for photos. It's more meant for characters like you're generating with the AI tool. So let me scroll down here too.
But then are you just using face swap then for those other
For
ones that
those
actually look
ones,
good?
yeah, so
Yeah.
for those ones I was using the face swap, but let me go further down here. Okay, so I did a cute black and white husky with blue eyes, Pixar style. And you
Mhm.
basically have to copy the link from it to reference it. And you can take that same character and change the style. So like this one I didn't reference Pixar style, and you can see some of the same features, but now it's more photographic. And then I did the same thing, started with Pixar style here. I chose to use this guy,
That's cute.
and I changed the background. And you can see in some images, he's still got the same folded ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then took out the Pixar style reference to see how it would maintain the character. And it's very much maintaining the bright blue eyes and like the surprised face.
Mhm.
And that's like the upscaled
Can
version
you,
right there.
I have a question. Can you control the colors of the image that Midjourney is creating? Like if we upload I don't know, some codes and ask him to create I don't know, the same image but with a purple ball color. I
So
don't know, like
we can
some
control
Pantone.
the colors as far as names go. So like in a lot of our images, we use teal and pink colors. And like I can reference that same husky here. And so you use the CREF reference, you put in the image link, and then you put in the character weight, and that's how much you want the facial recognition to stay the same. So if it's a character weight of 0, you basically are wanting to keep that face of the character the same. If you increase the number, then you're wanting it to vary the face a little bit. But let's see how this one turns out with me adjusting the colors here. So you can't do RGB colors and CMYK, it won't work.
Mhm.
So you just basically have to say like teal and pink or orange and blue, whatever your colors are. You
And
can
what
do
if I
white,
upload
black background.
what if I upload the picture of the color and then use that link and said, use this as a color for the ball?
You could try it, yeah. I don't know how specific it will get with that. That's where I would use something like Photoshop to just change the color. So here I've just told it to use teal and pink colors, and I've referenced that same character, and it's changed the background. It's not going to change the color of the ball unless I maybe specified pink ball or teal ball or something like that.
It's really cool.
But that was, I guess, just released yesterday. I didn't even see it until Andrea pointed it out to me this morning and just spent like 5 minutes playing with it really quick. I will say, so it's cool because it's something that everybody's been wanting for a really long time, and it's very similar to seating. And Nora, I know you and I have talked a lot about the seating stuff. So it's basically doing what seating used to do, and it's kind of showing us that like, okay, it's almost getting to that point where we can replicate people, characters, and that way if you have certain characters you want to work with for your content, you'll be able to do that soon.
Yeah,
I
I
will
think that's really
definitely
cool.
play with that one. Yeah, I'm writing a children's book
Oh,
just for
nice.
fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that
And
would
have
be really great for that and having different situations like your character
yeah.
walking, your character blowing out the candles on a birthday cake, your character like whatever they're doing and keeping that same look
Yes.
all the way. Like
Mhm.
that's pretty cool.
There's,
has been
if
a
you
pain so
have
far.
specific features like freckles or moles or things
Mhm.
like that, it can't replicate that. It's just like the general overview of what the character looks like. So I think for a children's book, that's perfect because,
Yeah.
you don't have, as long as your character doesn't have like a heart-shaped mole on their cheek or something like that.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Devin, the first AI software engineer?
Yes, that was also in the news today. And I've heard a few various, I am not a software engineer, so but I have heard a few sides from both sides of the coin. Some people feel that it is basically Chat GPT with a really pretty wrapper on it. And other people feel like it's the next step into the AI revolution.
Well,
So
I feel weird that they created this first AI software engineer cognition, and it's like branded and their marketing is all around, yeah, it'll be super cool and you'll be able to create websites and whatnot. And their website is trash. Like, what? How dare you sell me a software engineer with a website looking like this? Please just stop.
so that was one of the primary concerns that like most people were saying, okay, you built this really cool software engineer,
Yeah.
but you're accepting onboarding requests with Google Forms. What the heck?
Yeah, how dare you? Like, who are you? Just please, man, sit down. It's awful. Yeah. I was
And
excited, but then I watched, like, I visited the website and then I cried and then I left.
so this is what Nora is talking
Yeah,
about,
they
if anybody
made it
hasn't seen it
so
yet.
cool. So cool, so juicy, everything was perfect. And then you visit Cognition and just, yeah.
Disappointing.
Well,
Yeah.
so I haven't looked at it, but here's my thought just on what you just said is like usually the coders are not the people that make the site pretty, it's functional, it's code that's going to work, but is it going to look good? Like they're going to need another AI for that part because that's not the same brain or the same thought process. That's back end, front end, it's UI versus like the code. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Front
interesting.
versus back end.
Yeah, but I do
Yeah.
agree, like don't like here is this and yes it works and like here I go to your
Yeah.
site and it's like I wouldn't want it. So, I get that. And it just shows
Yeah.
you like there's more than one part to all these things, right? Like, yeah, you can get it to work good, but if the user experience isn't good or it doesn't look good, that's going to affect it too.
Horrible. I cried.
And did you have another question about Midjourney or the images earlier?
Yeah, I'm just curious where you guys think that technology is at in terms of like if I wanted to redo a website, the challenge we always have since we just have never have had a budget for like a custom photo shoot. I used to do those with my law firm, by the way. They're great, but they're expensive. Um, where are we at in terms of being able to create, you know, something that looks like it's an actual photo shoot for like a website use with these tools?
Oh, there's
Hearing
definitely
everything
those.
that Katie said about, the reality, level not quite being there. And we've known for years, right, that technology struggles the most in art in recreating humans, like for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
it does. And we actually had this conversation yesterday, I think, in class. And I had to do a photo that's like a passport photo for my permanent resident card here. And I put my photo on my camera on a stand, took a picture. I used Snapseed to edit it. And when we've done these virtual, like, because Andrea's had to do this too, edit the images for a client. and it might be different lighting, different angles. So we try to give them a spec of like, here's how the person should be looking, like whether it's over a shoulder or straight on, and what the camera needs to be here or it needs to be up, like whatever it is. If your photos going on your website can be a certain prescription that way. And then use Snapseed, which is Google bought them. Snapseed is a really good app for editing images, and it
Well, I'm
has
not so much talking about like headshots. Like I'm talking
just
about,
regular.
can you tell AI to create a picture of a Latinx-ish couple in their 40s meeting with an attorney, and having this sort of emotional reference and this level of sophistication in the office and stuff like that. Can you use AI to create an image that's convincing of that scenario, for example?
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's more like stock photo type that I would
Yeah.
think of. And you can definitely use AI to create like the stock photo. Where I wouldn't use AI is if you did want a photo shoot of your team, like definitely use a photographer to do that. Like
Yeah, I
if
do
you
that.
want, but if you're looking for like stock photo type images, it can absolutely help with that 100%. Just know that anything that you create with AI is royalty free and can be used by anybody else in the world. So unless you go in and make specific edits to it, like we created an image for our AI law course. That image was generated. Andrea went in and made some edits to it. Now that we've made those edits to it, it's technically not royalty free anymore. So that can be our image because we've done like certain specific things to change it. But I would absolutely use it to create stock photography.
So that's exactly, I guess my point is I've just spent the pennies to get some stock art from iStock Photo or one of these other online services. And the problem is you look like everybody else. And in fact, I've run across websites that are using precisely the same images because it turns out the best ones that appealed to me also appealed to everybody else.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is you can use this to create an image that's going to be credible, but you're just going to become the first user of another public domain image that's going to show up somewhere else.
Unless you make little tweaks to it. Like this is what I've made just a few things here, based off of what you were talking about. These are
Okay, that's really freaking impressive that you pulled that off in that amount of time.
and that's just like a really basic prompt. Latin couple in your 40s meeting with an attorney looking distressed, lawyer's office, like, and then I gave it the aspect ratio. But I would probably, if I was making this for my own website, I would probably go through and play around with the prompts a little bit. And I'm not giving it a specific amount of people Midjourney needs, like the number of people. It's just there's a few other details I could give it to get it better. Like in this image right here, it looks like she's got extra hands in there.
Yeah.
So there's like a few minor things, but it's a good
No, but
start.
look, like the one on the bottom right, for instance, or even the one in the bottom left. I mean, considering you generated those in 2 minutes, I think, while we were having this conversation, and you can improve them from that point, you answered my question completely. Yes, you can generate images that'll save me from seeing my same stock photos on somebody else's website.
Yeah. And that's
Absolutely.
honestly one of my favorite ways to use Midjourney is for those like very generic images where you're wanting to convey a certain emotion or a certain setting. You don't have to, you're not stealing anybody's artwork. You're not putting somebody out of a job or anything like that. It's just something that you need for your product or your service. And it's unique to you because it's based on the prompt that you put in. So, we could vary these up. You could change the race, you could change the hair colors, you could change the amount of people, you could change the background setting, anything goes.
Well, I mean, look, take this for the compliment I intended to be. That is spot on what I need for my business. It's the level of attorney that I work with. It's the type of client that they typically have that struggles, to figure out how they're going to pay for the service. Even the background and everything probably fits. That would be evocative for a good percentage of my prospective clients to see that image. They go, "Oh shit, yeah, that could be me."
Yeah.
Well, definitely play around with it. Do you have Midjourney?
No, not yet. I'm a concept
Or-
guy. I'm not so much an execution guy.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
you've
why
got
he
people
has
for
us.
that. Yeah. You've got people for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and gosh, we're already at 3 o'clock.
Oh yeah, we are.
More to
Okay.
discuss next week, of course.
Yes. But I know we didn't get to your stuff, Andrea, which
There'll be more though. Don't worry.
we will next week. Thank
Thank
you
you so
for
much.
thanks, Nora. Thanks
It
for
was
showing up.
fun.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Mackenzie. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's